lesson here, I'm going to talk while I'm sharing. I'm going to see if I can do what I do on Morse World TV. I be working the controls and getting it in all which way, music playing. But when it comes to teaching these lessons, I tend to can't focus like I normally do, but we're going to do it today. There we go. Speaker. All right. Now I'm going to share it real quick, but what I wanted to put out today is going to be a really deep, heavy lesson. I'm just of the thought that it is time to put these lessons where they need to be. And it is what it is. You know, people are going to have to accept it, reject it, move on, get mad, or just, you know, go their way and do what they do, because what we've been taught thus far has not motivated, inspired those in the same vein that those was inspired with the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We are inspired, of course, myself included. But when we look into the past and look at those who were inspired by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we have to admit that there is no comparison. That 1925 through 1928, they came from, Prophet Noble Drew Ali came from standing in a parking lot to a $1 million religious corporation, affecting change politically, economically, socially, until up to now, over 100 years later, we're still talking about it and trying to get it right. So it's only right that, hold on one second. It's only right that we revisit these. Oh, let me do one thing real quick. I need to do one thing with this. I got to make it public. All right. It's only right that we do this in the same vein as Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And what I mean by that is that many people, I don't believe, really get it. You know what I mean? I don't believe they actually get it. And that's just my opinion. And my opinion could be wrong. It's my opinion. It's my belief. It's what I think is true. I don't think they actually get it. So it's my job as a Grand Sheik, and you as a student, Sheik, Grand Sheik, Divine Minister, Adapt, or one who aspires to help get us to the next level, it's your job to do the same thing. Now, let me first rise and give praise to the great God of the universal law. I give honor to his prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honor to the forerunner of the prophet, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I give honor to each and every one of you. Again, I give a special honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali for giving us this information that have been kept from us for a long time. For a long, long time, this information has been kept from us. And for the first time in ages, it's been delivered in the hands of the Muslims in America. But when it was delivered in the hands of the Muslims in America, many of these Muslims, Moors that follow the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, they took it and concealed it and sealed it back up. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali tells us in the front of our Koran, the only Quran of the Moor Science Tip of America, that for the first time in ages, I think I took my Quran upstairs, that these secrets was delivered to the hands of the Muslims in America. However, the Muslims in America has taken these lessons and hid them and covered them back up. So today we're going to reveal these lessons the way they was meant to be revealed. So Sister Robin was teaching a class, and one of the questions that she was posing to herself in meditation and contemplation was, what is the title that the Satan sometimes give himself, or why do Europeans call themselves white, et cetera, et cetera? And so I looked at her and I said, that's a good subject for Sunday class. It's an excellent subject for Sunday class, because many times people talk about this degree of calling yourself black, and they use it as a weapon in Moorish science. Raise your hand if y'all ever heard them weaponize using the term black, Moors in particular, of different groups. You know what I mean? Anybody weaponize it. You ain't black, you ain't black, you ain't black, you ain't black. They weaponize it without any understanding. And then they would have people, I'm going to calm it down. And then they would have people who are not associated with the Moorish Science Temple of America to give definition to the science as taught by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. They would say, you Moors hate black people because you don't believe that we are black. And they will carry this on throughout the birth of the internet, even until today of social media. And many leaders have yet to address this elephant in the room. And I'm of the thought that many leaders may not understand it. Because if they did, they would not have this stain on a divine teaching that was given to us. So now Moors that come into the know of the Moorish Science Temple of America under whichever body that they're a part of, whichever group that they're a part of, many of them, listen, I make no apology. I'm not trying to convince nobody of anything. I put this post right after I put the post that I was doing this. I make no apology. I'm not trying to convince nobody of anything. I'm going to teach it, and either you want to learn it or you don't. I'm not trying to convince nobody of anything. This is not a debate. You know what I'm saying? I'm to the point now where the last 3 to 4 months, I'm really past of the debate stage, but I won't debate anybody. But in my heart of hearts, I'm really past the debate stage, that I'm here to teach it. And if you have a will to learn it, you will learn it. If you don't, you just won't. And that's just what it is. I'm not going to trivialize these divine teachings. I'm not going to patronize these divine teachings. I'm going to teach it, and either you get it or you don't. That's just where I'm at right now. So, with that being said, many of these leaders, I'm going to say it again, I do not believe in what man think is true. I do not believe that they're understanding these teachings. And I am of the belief that many understand and they want to conceal the teachings. In other words, they are part of the biggest plot to keep us on the bottom. This is why I call it a Masonic parlor trick. It's a Masonic parlor trick. It's a Freemason parlor trick. Sidebar before I get started. Everybody, please share this one time. If you are on social media, I'm going to upload it on the page on Morse Road TV 7 later. But I call it a Masonic parlor trick because the Masons that's in these groups called the Moorish Science Temple of America already know. They know this when they walk into the lodge. All right? They know this when they walk into the lodge. Let me show you something real quick. When Masons walk into the lodge and they see that checkered floor, if they don't know instantly about the higher and the lower self, ultimately they will learn it. The checkered floor, the black and the white squares, represents the higher and the lower self in Freemasonry. So when we start talking about why Europeans choose to refer to themselves as white, the first thing that you have to understand is Freemasonry or Masonry as it relates to this checkered floor. That's number one. Number two, you have to understand the cosmos and the ceiling of the lodge with the stars if someone are afforded to be in that company. I say all that to say this degree is a degree, and I'm going to use the term the founding fathers or those who were instrumental in putting the United States on the map, putting it together. They put this together from a Masonic perspective. And this is why I always say, and I'm going to use the term black today, Black Freemasons are literally a part of the conspiracy, especially if they are part of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And this is why. The Moorish Science Temple of America, when properly understood, is the revealers of the light. In Freemasonry or Masonry, they have took an oath on a Bible to not reveal certain information. Now, with that being said, in our Holy Koran, the Moorish Science Temple of America is diametrically opposed to taking oaths. That's number one. Number two, taking an oath on the Bible when a Moorish American Muslim holy book is the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, which we will not subscribe to taking the oath. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, just be honest, and there's no need for no oaths. But taking an oath on the Bible, which we know has been adulterated, remixed, and tampered with. But we also know it is ours, but has been tampered with by the Masons and Freemasonry. We know it's been used for centuries against us. And we got to admit that. Now, we're talking about why do Europeans call themselves white? And again, I got to take you to the questionnaire, because our prophet tells us that the teacher should stay in line with the questionnaire. So let me start with the questionnaire. And if you are new to this on Facebook, I want to explain to you why we have a questionnaire. A questionnaire is a catechism. The Catholic Church has questionnaires. The Masons, the Freemasons have questionnaires. All secret organizations use these questionnaires in order to get the wheels turning. See, we are a sacred organization to reveal that which was secret. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? So in understanding that which was made secret from us, the methodology remains the same. You can't take a different methodology where someone's cover up truth for you and find another way to that. You have to understand the methodology that is being used to cover up the truth from you. So in the Masonic groups, they have these questionnaires. In the stars, what you call the sisters, the Eastern Stars, they have questionnaires. So we have one too. And this is why people think that the Moorish Science Temple of America is affiliated, associated, or just a derivative of a Masonic organization, when absolutely not. We're showing the members here the methodology, how the secrets have been hid from you so you can get your wheels turning and get up out of this condition. If you're on Facebook, press 7 when you agree with me, press 6 when you don't, so I can come back and reiterate. I want you to really understand this, because we are in a dismal condition because we will not allow ourselves to take truth for what it is. We have been duped, we have been played, and we have been manipulated by those who look like us, because they're imitating those who don't look like us, chasing gods of Europe who we know nothing of. So we're going to get started with this questionnaire. This is going to be a heavy lesson. I may go about 15 minutes over 4:30 because I got to get to the point, but let's just get it started right now. Our prophet asks us in question 65, what is the devil sometimes called? The lower self. Let's stop and let's reveal this light. If the devil is sometimes called the lower self, that don't mean all times. Just like you are God, the microcosmic God, there are microcosmic devils out here. This is where Elijah Muhammad got the term the white man is the devil from this questionnaire. Now, Elijah Muhammad is a Mason, and he knew these truths, and he knew the principle of the black-white dynamic as it relates to Masonry. See, they don't want to talk about this, but we're going to talk about it today because I'm going to reveal this light. There is a dynamic of the yin and the yang, of black and white, of positive, negative, of up and down. And many of these master Masons have used that to further their agenda. But what I'm saying is Elijah Muhammad was a Mason and understood this. He understood this. Now, anybody that wants to debate that, I am open for the debate, but I will debate just to teach. Now, with that being said, what is the devil sometimes called? If the devil is sometimes called the lower self, then there's other times where there's a other representation of the devil. But we'll leave that alone for right now. So the prophet asks us, how many selves are there? 2. Name them, the higher self and the lower self. In Freemasonry, on this floor, which side do you think represent the higher self and which side do you think represent the lower self? The black would represent the lower self and the white square would represent the higher self. That's just how it works. There's no getting away from this. So they already know. They already know. So it asks, what people represent the higher self? The angels who protect the holy city of Mecca. Family, we're going to go into the esoteric meaning of Mecca, and we're talking about the Mecca within. We're not talking about the Mecca in Saudi Arabia. What people represent the higher self? The angels who protect the holy city of Mecca. In Moorish science, the question is asked, what is another name for angel? What is the modern name for angel? What is angel synonymous with? Asiatic. And I'm going to go slow with this. Asiatic. In other words, the people represent the higher self is the one who protect the highest ideal, the holy city of Mecca within. The house of God within. The Kaaba within. Everything starts within and then works outward. What people represent the higher self? Angels, Asiatics. You would have to be in your questionnaire to understand this lesson right here. Angels, Asiatics, protects it. It said what people represents the lower self? Those who was cast out the holy city and those who accept their teachings. What people represents the lower self? We're talking about a calcified pineal gland cast out the higher self. This is why Elijah Muhammad, once again, would say that the black man has 7 1/2 ounces of brain and the devil has 6 ounces of brain. 6 represent the physical nature of a thing. 7 represents, we know, the number of perfection. And if you have 7 1/2, that means you go into infinity. See, these lessons come out of Moorish science. These lessons came from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali that people have been taking, manipulating, and using for their own benefit for a long time. But we are here now. Now, it says, what is the higher self? Once again, listen slow. Now, again, family, if you can't receive this, you're not going to get it. But if you are studying your lesson, if you are receptive to truth, then your soul will understand exactly where I'm coming from. It say, what is the higher self? The higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life and breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. The higher self is the mother. When we're dealing with mother, we're dealing with one who brings forth something through the womb, to existence. The mother, we use soul as she. We use holy breath as she. We use truth as art. Art is a law. What another name do we give? Truth, holy breath. Allah, feminine, Allah, holy breath, Allah, she, Allah, mother. It's a feminine energy that I'm speaking of. It's a high science divine energy that I'm speaking of, if you're able to catch it. So pay close attention. What is the higher self? The higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life and breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. In other words, you know someone is in the higher self or in their higher nature if they're in harmony with nature. Can a higher self pass away? No. Why? Because it is a law in man. That's one. Now it says, what do the lower self breed? The lower self is not the mother of anything, is not the father of anything. It's just the lower self. It's an illusion. That's all it is. It's the lower self and its illusion. So if we would put them on the scale and separate the two, as the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, in all the world, there are two things in all the world. The one is truth, the other is falsehood. If we was talking about the mother of virtues, if we put them in color coding, the mother would fall under what? And the lower self would fall under what? Go back to the Masonic floor. Now, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali says and instructs us that each member must exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. With that being said, exercising your 5 senses is right. You have the inner and the outer senses of the 5 senses that will ultimately evolve or come to the understanding of one sense. You have taste, you have hearing, you have smelling, you have touch, and you have, what did I miss? Seeing. Now,
sight.
That's right. Sight. The prophet say, exercise your 5 senses, who is able to do so. Now let's talk about the 5 senses. All these 5 senses are predicated on one sense. Allah is one, is that right? Allah is one. All the 5 senses is a derivative of one sense. And that one sense is touch. I want you to hear me closely. When you touch something, it brings a signal to the brain. We're about to be going a little bit deep up in here. When you touch something, it brings a signal to the brain. When you hear something, it vibrates, it touches the eardrum and bring a signal to the brain. Is that right? When you smell something, the particles touches the smelling sense and send a signal to the brain. When you taste something, it touches the air. Y'all with me on this one? This is divine science here. Truth is but one, doubt is of thine own raising. So when you look at something, we have to elevate our mind where we can transform these 5 senses into the 1 sense so we can understand the complete understanding of what is happening before us. Without that, we can be manipulated, played, and taken advantage of. So when someone says something, you got to hear, feel the vibration of what they're saying, not just what they're talking about. See, words have spells, as we always say. And if you cannot understand the spell, one thing you can do is feel the vibration. You follow me? If you walk into a room and you know the difference between the smell of death and the smell of life, you are feeling it with one of your 5 senses. So when the Prophet Noble Ali say exercise your 5 senses, what are we talking about? We're talking about exercising the inner 5. Man, this is deeper than what people think it is. It's exercising the inner 5 senses so you can feel every fiber of the message. Y'all raise your hand if y'all hear me. Don't nobody, y'all understand what I'm saying? You got to feel every fiber of the message in order to get it. We are the ones that built the pyramids. And if we ever want to get to that state again, we have to get past the part where we see the world from the outward in, as opposed from the inward out. Truth has been reversed. Didn't the prophet tell us that truth is reversed? They reversed it on us. So we got to see the world from within. Now, let's get back to why do Europeans call themselves white? I just gave the answer, but I'm going to go the long version to give tons of examples. You follow me? Now, with that being said, this floor has everything to do with what I'm talking about. Everything to do with what I'm talking about. So the prophet says, what title do Satan gives himself? What title does Satan give himself? God. When you define the word white, white means purity, purity means God, and God means ruler of the land. Family, when you start talking about the founding fathers of the United States, those that was there and those that begin to perpetuate it even unto this day, you're talking about people like this. You talk about people like George Washington, James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Knox, James Buckingham. These brothers of that lodge, and not my brothers, but they're brothers in the lodge who designed the system to reverse the science and use it against you. They reverse the science to use it against you. These are brothers of lodges, Freemasons. Whether they started the program or they carry it on and they continue to carry it on. This is the Masonic Parlor trick right here. And those so-called Black Freemasons who are Moors, I ain't talking about the ones, hold up, let me stop. I'm not talking about the ones who are not Moors. I'm talking about particularly those that are Moors, that know these hidden secrets that keep us in perpetual slavery. They become a part of the problem as opposed to a part of the solution. Because we're the revealers of the light, Islam. Because we're revealers of the light. And revealing this light will get us up out of this condition. We need hundreds of brothers and sisters revealing this light. Being prudent, though. We know what being prudent means. Know when not to speak, know how to speak. No, you know what I mean? We need to be prudent. However, we don't have enough people explaining the science of the manipulation of the energy that's been put out to keep us in this perpetual slavery. You follow me? You understand what I'm saying? So with that being said, let's get with the term black, for example, from the words of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, from what he wrote. He says, if let's say it was attributed to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because it was in the Moorish Guide, and he didn't write all articles, but I attribute this to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. If I'm standing to be corrected, that's fine. But as of now, this is what the research says. So this is the article that brought me into Moorish Science Temple of America in 1990. But we're going to read it carefully. So often, our various journalists finds trouble in selecting a proper name, the proper name for the Moorish American. Some say Negro. Another brand him race man. Still, another will call him Afro-American, and then come colored, dark American, coon, shine, the brethren, and your folks. It is indeed a hard matter to find something suitable for the various occasions where a title needs to be used. Is it that these people have no proper name? Question mark. Did they have a national name when they was first brought to the shores in the early part of the 17th century? If so, what was it? So when we're dealing about black and colored and all of those things, we're actually not dealing with adjective, we're dealing with national names. And what's the root word of national? Nation. What nation do you come from? Has nothing to do with demonizing the term black. The question is asked, what is your national name? What nation do you come from? This is Moorish science as taught by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. What nation do you come from? There is no nation called black, is the object of this discussion. It says, did they have a national name when they were first brought to these shores in the early part of the 17th century? If so, what was it? Did not the land from which they were forced have a name? Why did the prophet say that? Because every person on the planet Earth identifies with the land in which they derive from or they're native of. So he goes to say, it now appears a good idea for those whose duty it is to write for the various journals to find out what the national name of the forefathers of these people was. Also, look into history of the founders of civilization and see who they were and who they were and where they stood in the building of the present civilization. This is where we've been erased out. Probably 2 hours in an up-to-date library was served to relieve the strain on our men of letters. The men of letters is those who supposed to know, those who claim to know, those who claim to be teaching what they know. However, the men of letters are just as idiotic and lost as those who don't know. And the Prophet Noble Drew Ali says, 2 hours. Probably 2 hours in an up-to-date library was served to relieve the strain on our men of letters. When the occasion presents itself for a title for these people, understand that these are just titles. The matter of various names given to these 22 million people with all colors, we ain't got to demonize colors because color is what? An adjective. It's just not a nationality. See, we need to cleanse our mind with acting like that's something wrong with a color. Something wrong with a color being a nationality. Something wrong with a color being identified with your forefathers as a nation. But the prophet uses the term with all colors of every race on the globe was an act of European psychology. The matter of various names given to these 22 million people with all the colors of every race on the globe was an act of European psychology. Now here is the one that knocks it out the park. They gave him a name and defined it as something inferior to theirs. They, who is the they? Who is the they? They gave him a name and defined it as something inferior to theirs. This name was given to slaves by slaveholders. That is the they. Who is the slaveholders? Let's put it all together. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that these names were given to slaves by slaveholders. Who is the they? They. He didn't say that black is inherently evil. So black, according to science, who is they and what is their science? Masonry. Freemasonry. Are y'all with me? Raise your hand if y'all with me on this one. So black, according to science, means death. Who is they? And Act 6, the slaveholders. Now just tie it all together. We know who he's talking about. We know who he's talking about. It ain't that serious. We know who he's talking about. So these Moors that claim to be Masons and claim that it's okay to be a Mason, that means they missed the mark of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. They missed the whole mark. And they continue to rock people to sleep. They continue to rock people to sleep. But let me tell you something. Like the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, 2 hour in the up-to-date library, I will add and say 2 hours of deep meditation, contemplation of these lessons will reveal them to you in living color. They will reveal them to you in living color. So now, they gave him a name, then defined it as something inferior to theirs. White, quote unquote, they defined as a color of purity. They defined as a color of purity. In the Masonic teachings, white is a symbol of innocence, purity, and light. It is connected to pure items like snow, blank canvases, and wedding dresses. It is also seen as a symbol of cleanliness, since it can show any hint of impurity clear as day. Masonic royalty often wear whites to portray the meaning of wholeness. White is the perfect balance of all colors, yet it doesn't absorb any attention for itself when mixed with another color. White has also been tied to religious symbols and color of the gods. Also, in the Bible, Jesus is also described as wearing white, wearing the brightest white clothing. It can also be described as a color of resurrection and spirits. At one point, it even was worn as a color of mourning. Let me stop right there. The European has taken our science. The Mason Europeans has taken our science, remixed it, and sold it back to us and used it against us. And again, I'm not talking about average everyday Masons that have brotherhoods, and I'm talking about the Masons that claim to be Moorish Americans. The ones that don't know is not held accountable by this information, because they don't know that the Moors have this information and even deeper information than what they could ever have. So it's not on them. It's those who's running to them thinking they're going to get this when they're only going to get a reflection of the light. They're not going to get the whole thing. They're not going to get the whole thing, because we are dealing with a divine prophet and they are dealing with someone who was given a title prophet by another man. We're dealing with a prophet that was prepared and sent to this earth by the universal creator himself, and they are dealing with one who was given a title. You understand? They are dealing with one who is given a title, the worshipful master. And we are dealing with one who comes from the universal creator prepared. So there's no way that their knowledge can supersede those who have been walking through the doors of the Moorish Science Temple of America and have paid close attention. And I must add, must be taught by a competent teacher or teachers. Because there's a lot of incompetent teachers out here that claim that they have the truth. Yet, if you listen closely, it's not even a smidget of it. It's not even a smidget of it. It's a lot of stroking of egos, a lot of nice play and get along stuff. Let me give you an example. In most Masonic temple orders, one of the rules is not to argue, debate religion. Did y'all know that? Raise your hand if y'all knew that. But if the prophet is diametrically opposed to that, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, in all intents and purposes, said, if that's the case, there will be no real search for truth. He said that there could never be a real search for truth if there wasn't, this is how he said it, the door of religious freedom swings open. And you can walk through as you see fit. Without it, there could be no true search for truth. In other words, when you walk through the door of religious freedom, it gives you the ability to question everything. It gives you the ability to question everything. But the Masonic ideal is do not argue religion. In other words, do not question. Do not question. Because when you don't question, you don't need a new answer. You don't unfold. Do not question. Yet in their same orders, they have questionnaires with thousands of questions. With thousands of questions. You see the contradiction. See, the prophet came to reveal the light. And again, I must say that most people think that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is an extension of a Masonic organization, when in fact, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is showing you the fallacy in even being a part associated or moving in that direction. I'm showing you right now. I'm giving you a smidget because we only got that much time. I'm showing you right now that there is no need to be incandescent organizations when you are a Moorish American. It doesn't make sense. If the prophet brought us everything we need, if we go into somewhere of a direction, we don't believe that the prophet brought us everything we need. I mean, how simple is that? The prophet said, I brought you everything you need to save a nation. Now take it and save yourself. If we don't believe that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us everything we need, then we start going outward to other places, looking for that which we think we need. You understand what I'm saying? See, I am a bona fide Moorish American Muslim. I'm talking about my whole life is measured by the Moorish Science Temple of America's teachings, doctrine, prophet, etc. Islam, let me finish. No. Hold. Let me try to break my zone real quick. Nuh-uh. I see you in a little bit. Yeah, so the whole point of the matter is that many that claim to know really don't know. That's what I'm trying to get to. Let me go back up on this slide. Now, the question was asked, why do Europeans call themselves white? Remember, that's the standing question. That's the standing question. Follow me? But now, let's look at the Masonic concept of what black is. Like white, black is another essential color. It has been used in all civilizations since the Middle Ages. but I'm going to take you before the Middle Ages momentarily. It was originally used as a symbol of death and darkness, which is the opposite of white common meaning. Knights often, you all familiar with the Knights Templars? Knights often wore black to represent this dark and frightening symbolism. They gave him a name and defined it. They gave him a name and defined it. You follow me? Knights often wore all black to represent this dark and frightening symbolism. Black wasn't introduced as a color of loss and mourning until about halfway through the 14th century. They gave him a name and defined it. The 14th century. After that, it gradually replaced white as the proper attire for those grieving. Even then, it remained a color relating to death. Now listen, I'm going to take you back just a little more. What happened was they took the science of the Bible of ancient Egypt and then they remixed it for here in America to keep us subjugated. These symbols and this knowledge actually was defined by our forefathers that had knowledge-based lessons in it. In ancient time, there was no concepts of hell. The underworld was just as natural as the world above. So above, so below. The underworld was a natural process to pass through in order to get to the afterlife. Y'all feel me what I'm saying? The European comes and he's demonizing and turned the underworld into hell as a place where you go when you have been a wicked person, as opposed to a place that you pass through as a process of developing into your divine destiny. Remember, our prophet Noble Drew Ali said, all will be redeemed. All will be redeemed. So hell is a condition that we pass through as we travel towards our divine destiny. What European Masons have done, and those who claim to be Moors and Masons that conceal it, they have made this a reality for those who's trying to have their flicker of light to get brighter. But they smush it out. They distinguish it, extinguish it, put it out with this misinformation and disinformation. So with that being said, they defines it. You follow me? Now, the Masonic tradition is that the floor of the Temple of Solomon was decorated with the mosaic pavement of black and white stone. Stop there. This is where they throw the ringer. Many people that follow Masonic thought would say Masonry comes out of ancient Egypt, which it is an adulterated version of some of the lessons that come out of Egypt. But many of the lessons also come out of the Bible, which no one wants to mention. Whenever you hear somebody talk about Freemasonry, they always connecting it to ancient Egypt, but they deny, unless they in their little circles, the elements that they pull out the Bible. As I just mentioned, Solomon's Temple, Hiram Abiff. These are all Bible degrees. So European Freemasonry or Masonry is a combination of Kemetic science, biblical, science, if you will, biblical allegories, some stuff thrown up in there, a little bit more thrown up in there, repackaged, bam, there you go. But when we're looking at Moorish science, we're looking at a pure, unadulterated version of the essence of the teachings that frees the mind and elevates the mind into the higher God consciousness. That's what we're looking at. And when you are truly in your lessons of the Moorish Science Temple of America as taught by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, as the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you are far above and you can look down and see the scavengers. You can see it. And it's very clear that we are being manipulated daily by our own lessons, by our forefathers and foremothers to perpetuate this slavery institution, this slave institution of the mind. So the lesson becomes once again, why do the European call himself white? It's very simple why the European call himself white. It's very, very simple. Because our ancestors who has examined the universe 1,000,000 times over before any other group of people will come to try to learn, become civilized, and ultimately demoralize and decivilize us before they even thought about it. Our ancestors had figured out the sciences of the ages. And it was codified. And being codified means very simple things, family. Being codified means very simple things. Family, there is nothing, let me screen share real quick. Hold up 1 second. There is nothing wrong with being described as Black if that's what you are. Listen to me. They don't want you to know this. I would assume. There is nothing wrong with being described as Black if that's what you are. Being Black is an adjective. It's not a noun. An adjective describes a noun. So when the Greek came to the shores of North Africa and he seen the Maori people and he began to call them Moors or Maori in his Greek tongue and says that Moor means Black, he was using the adjective of what he saw. But the Maori people didn't see themselves as Black because Maori tribe meant the ones who went west or Westerner. One moment. So when Strabo went to North Africa and he seen the Maori people and they looked like this, and he said that Moor or Maori was what they called themselves, and we will find that Maori means Westerners and the ones that went west. But what he was describing and what ultimately will become that Moor means Black is the adjective. So wherever they went, they said that this was a Moor, that was a Moor, this was a Moor, that was a Moor, this was a Moor, that was a Moor, but they was using the adjective, not the noun. And we have people today continue to be miseducated on the matter. But we here to straighten it out. So, the Jawas, If someone walked up on this island and seen these people, they will call them black people, especially of European descent. But we know them as the Jawas. You follow me? I ain't even gonna put them in it this time. The Jawas of the Andaman Islands. The Andamese people, that's who they are. Andamanese peoples. You follow me? That's what they will be described as. This is how they see themselves. But if someone outside would come in and look at them, they would say, these are black people. But they are using an adjective to describe a noun. So what would happen is, no matter where you go, even in the Sudan, they are using an adjective to describe a noun. This is a Sudanese person, but they're using an adjective to describe a noun. So what the Masons will ultimately do, what they would do, they gave him a name, then they defined it. We're talking about those Freemasons in America. They use the science of their floor, of the higher and the lower self. Now, always remember that these are our sciences. And so the god of the underworld in ancient Egypt, what could be green or black, Asar, it represents a certain energy, the going to sleep, the underworld, the passing through in order to get to the world above or the world of light, or you understand what I'm saying? And so when they define these terms from a Freemason perspective, they put us in the underworld. So why do the European call himself white? The European call himself white because he feels that he has arrived. The European call himself white because remember when I said in the beginning, exercise your five senses? There's a vibration to the term white. Light, white, sun. It's a vibration to it. Why does he call himself white? Because you will call him white and you would enforce the power that comes with the vibration of the spell. And it's only an adjective because we know he's not white. There's a spell that comes with it. We look at ourselves, we know we're not black, even from an adjective perspective, but there's a spell that comes with it. And the spell has put us traveling through the underworld for the last couple hundred years. This is why in America, this term black is really a phenomenon with us. It's an experiment, a Masonic parlor trick, a Masonic experiment with us. Other countries are now just catching on to calling themselves black because of the internet. Anybody ever been to African countries, talk to African people? They don't want to be associated with that, not because they don't want to be associated with us per se, but of course we got some that don't want to, but not because they don't understand it, because it's a American parlor trick. It's a North American parlor trick. It's a Masonic parlor trick. Y'all understand what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's a Masonic parlor trick. Period. And Bro L said, but they put white on their paperwork. The reason why they do is because within the Masonic Parlor trick of the design of the United States of America, they say anybody from North Africa on down towards the mid of Southwestern Africa, Southwest Africa, are defined in the United States as white people. That's the Parlor trick. They're not calling themselves white because they see themselves white, or neither do they understand the Masonic Parlor trick. But the code of which they describe themselves is written in the naturalization papers when they become citizens of the United States. It's all a part of the Parlor trick. Because the Roman Empire took over much of North Africa from Egypt all the way down towards Morocco, down towards Mauritania. And this is where you see, this is way before the conquest of the Moors in 711. We're talking about the Roman Empire. And they was using this term white to protect theirs, but that is a United States thing in particular. It's a Masonic parlor trick. So it's a status? No, it's a Masonic parlor trick. It's a Masonic parlor trick. The moment that you call yourself white, you have fell into the parlor trick. You are a Moorish American or whatever your forefathers were, you are today without a doubt or contradiction. That's it. That's all. We don't fall for the parlor trick calling ourselves colors. That's the Masonic parlor trick. If you talk to the average European who describes himself as white and has no connection to his forefathers and foremothers directly, he can still tell you that someone told him that his grandmother or great-grandmother came from Germany, that his grandmother or great-grandmother came from Venezuela, that wherever they came from. So it's all a parlor trick. And this is why the Prophet Noble Drew Ali says that we are following gods of Europe that we know nothing of. So white mean purity, purity mean God, and God mean ruler of the land. Most of us are following Masonic parlor tricks and think that we are in our own state of mind, which we're not. We're not in our own state of mind. So to answer the question, so I can wrap it up, why did the European call himself white? Because there's energy that comes with white. There's a dominant energy that comes with white within the Masonic system of how energy works and how energy flows. And so when they call themselves white and we reinforce it and call them white, we give them the energy and the power that comes with the term. It's just like when you call, let's think of nicknames. You call someone pig, don't be surprised if he start acting like a pig. What up, my dog? Don't be surprised if he start having the energy of a beast. That's my bee. My sister say that. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. So, hold on one second. Don't be surprised. All of these things have energy, right? All of them. Give me 1 second. 1 second, right quick. When you look at Assad, the funeral god, it represents death. But death is the pathway to life. But the process of being in perpetual death is just as detrimental to us as moving nowhere fast, being on a hamster wheel. We are in perpetual death. There's nothing wrong with death because out of death is the resurrection. But to be in perpetual death, blackness, is not good. So the energy that comes with black from the Masonic perspective is death. And so to keep you in perpetual death, identify with a term that is not a pass-through term according to the Masonic principle. It's a standstill term that does not connect you to your ancient forefathers and foremothers as it relates to nation, nationality, or national name. Nation awakens you to who you are, where you come from, and the potential where you have to go. To where you have to go. And that's the science of why Europeans call themselves white. Because white is the ones that have already been through the dark ages. And that energy, we reinforce it. We call them God. We say that they're rulers of the land. Whether you believe the science in which I'm breaking down right now or not doesn't make a difference. The energy of the universe in which it is established by natural law is reinforced by your energy, whether you like it or not. If you call yourself something that has the ability to vibrate at a certain rate by natural law, that's where it's going to vibrate at. That's where it's going to vibrate at. And there's no getting around it. And this is why Prophet Noble Drew Ali is so essential to our becoming to ourselves, or being free, or being uplifted. Because he is the first one to crack the code. He is the first one to break the Roman seal. He broke the Roman seal. This is what we're talking about right now. And there's so much more to go with it, but he broke the Roman seal. So when you ever see, I know we don't like to let things go. We think that these little incandescent groups have some big old secrets that we never going to get, and it's going to make us better. We're going to be so intelligent. We're going to levitate. We're going to do all of these magnificent things. I'm going to tell you what I taught you here today, that it would probably take a little bit of time to even get the smidget of this in some of them groups. To even just get a smidget. Many people walked on that checkered floor many a times, and if they're not in the Moorish Science Temple of America, it wouldn't even cross their mind until somebody told them. But being in the Moorish Science Temple of America, when you see a black and white checkered coat, you see a black and white checkered floor, you see a Rolls Royce where the ceiling got starlights in them, know who's responsible. Know who's responsible. The stars of the heaven is a Masonic degree. And they took that, the prophet and the creation fall of man, talk about the stars of heaven. We know what the star. Hold up 1 second. Hold up. Don't go nowhere. I'm gonna do this real quick. Hold up. Let me do this real quick. I'm gonna do this for a fact. I gotta do it for a fact. Let me see. Let me do it for a fact real quick. Let me do it real quick. 1 second. Somebody, if y'all got any questions, get them together now. All right, hold on 1 second.
Just listening, clear my prayer.
Hold up 1 second. So family, 1 second. I want to make sure I get this right. So family, when you ever see I'm going to do it right now. Here we go. Family, you ever see people like one second. Here we go. Bear with me, because I'm doing this on the fly now. I'm almost done. Next time you see, I'm gonna do two things. Trying to find. See if I can find it real quick. All right, no worries, no worries. Y'all catch it later. Whenever you see a brother bragging about money, hold on. Whenever you see a brother bragging about money, in particular, take one like Brother Polite, and they would flash the ceiling of their Rolls Royce, and you see the stars in the ceiling, that's Masonic all day. That's Freemasonry all day. The Rolls Royce, and I'm gonna break down these signs. But the thing is that it's an American Masonic degrees. When you see Polite on 125th with Sinetta wearing the checkered coat, anybody ever seen that one? The checkered coat, the black and white checkered coat. All of these are Masonic degrees. All of them are. And there's many other signs and clues that they are working for the common cause of those who gave us the name. They're working for the common cause. You understand what I'm saying? Now, last but not least, let me just share this real quick. When we look at things like but share this right quick and I'm gonna get out of here. When we look at this is Osiris or Asar, who name translate as Lord of the Perfect Black. You follow me? Asar was the ancient Egyptian god of the dead, the underworld, and the afterlife, who is depicted as a man with green skin and a beard associated with the pharaoh, wearing a crown with the two large ostrich feathers and legs partially wrapped like a mummy. In his hands, he holds the flail and the symbolic crook. All right, watch it. There you go. The Lord of the Perfect Black. All right. Now, if anybody understand the flail and the crook, the flail is to hit the sheep to keep them moving so they won't fall off of cliffs away from danger. The crook is to pull them. It look like a cane to pull them through. I'm saying. So the ideal of the perfect black is to bring you to the underworld and to the light. You understand? To take you through the underworld into the light. And so when we look at Masonry and they have all of these rituals, you have to understand that partially it comes from ancient Kemet, partial from the Bible, and some of it is just remixed. And so the problem is with the ideal of the black identity is you're not being pulled through. You're not being resurrected. You're not coming to the light. The crook and the flail is missing. In today's time, the crook and the flail is the knowledge that pulls you through and forces you through. Come on, let's go. Let's go. The shepherd, remember, Jesus was the shepherd. The crook will pull you through. You know, you seen Jesus in the European picture with the crook? So the knowledge becomes the crook and the flail. Nationality and divine creed, the crook and the flail. Nationality and divine creed takes you through the underworld and brings you to the light. I'm going to stop it right there before people get too mad and go back and study this. And I yield the floor to the Grand Sheik or anybody who have any questions. Let me tell you something, family. This is not a shot at anybody that's in any Masonic organization. My job is to teach the truth, uncut, unadulterated, and not even worry about who it offends, because it's not the true fault. That's where I'm at now. That's where we should be at now. That it's time to teach the truth in the way that it was given to us, not in the way that covers it up and mislead, misguide, and misrepresent that which Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought to us. Because our ancestors cried out for a prophet. The prophet came, the prophet is still here, and we need to underscore everything that he taught. Oh, it's a disservice to our ancestors who cried out in those fields. It's a disservice to our ancestors who was being manipulated, who was being taken advantage of, and who was crying out to the universal creator for help and assistance. The help came, and now we take it as something small. Nah, we need to go all the way in with it. Let me yield the floor to our Assistant Grand Sheik of the Virtual Moorish Science Temple of America, Q. Robinson L. Islam.
Islam Grand Sheik, I rise to give praise to Allah, the Creator, honors to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, honors to you for this class, honors to everything that was said before me. I'm just trying to get you to kind of like make it simple, like break down the stars you were speaking about, because you broke down the checker floor, the higher self and the lower self, light and darkness. But you said something about according to Masonry, the stars. What does it represent? The people with higher knowledge or something like that?
In the lodge, there's a degree of the stars in the heaven. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make another lesson on that, but there's a degree about the stars in the heaven above the head. Even on the charters of Masonic, you know what I mean? There's a degree. I'm saying that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali already covered that. Remember, everything without is within. You know what I'm saying? Everything without is within. So when chapter 1 and Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, govern the solar stars, we're talking about thoughts. We're talking about thoughts. Chapter 1, let me see if I can find it. Let me get it. I'm going to read it for you from the Moorish Science Temple of America, but we can talk about it from a Masonic perspective too. But this is what is covered up. Our prophet teaches us, he says, in chapter 1, it says that, okay, here we go. You must suffer trials and temptation manifold, but let him know that the cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun and the spirit of the mighty Allah who rule the solar stars are his protectors and his guide, and they will lead to victory. So the allegory of the stars on a Rolls Royce, or symbolic within Masonry, it represents something inward. And stars from an inward perspective represents the multiple thoughts. Remember, stars of light. Stars are light. And in each and every one of us, we have electrons, neutrons, and protons, and they always sparking thoughts. You feel me? And so, like I gave an example before, like if they want to know if someone have life in them, the first thing they do is make sure they have some brain activity. They look for electric pulses in the brain. These are thoughts, the stars. So in Masonry, they put them, oh man, they're all symbolic. But those who are in the Moorish Science Temple of America that claim to be Masons, they don't reveal this stuff to anybody. They cloak it, they cover it, and they say, you ain't ready for it. They say, you ain't ready for it. But I say, if you can hear it, you can hear it. But now, what's the point of all of it? What's the point of me doing all this? What's the point of this? Because even our brothers be playing games with this information. Even our brothers be playing game with this information, and they understand the energy that comes with this information to manipulate and change conditions. And many of them will manipulate people to change their condition by selfishness. So they will manipulate people with information and make people believe that they got something deeply rooted in science, when in fact they're only quoting and taking advantage of people monetarily or other. It's like some people have an ego. They just want people to follow them. For some people, that's bigger than money. That someone will acknowledge them as someone that knows something. You understand what I'm saying? That to some people, that's more valuable than money. Acknowledge them as if they are a mastermind, a master mason, an adept, whatever they want to call themselves in this hour. Some people are caught up on that. I'm caught up on freeing my people. And it starts with freeing the mind first. In order to free the mind, you got to understand, acknowledge what you're looking at. Why are my people playing me? Why you play me? That's where I'm at with it. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly where I'm at with it. And I know that's where Prophet Noble Drew Ali is at with it. So we're going to break down all these sciences. I'm telling you, coming all the way up into convention, I'm going to teach every week. We're going to break down all these sciences, every single one of them. And we're going to show that those who claim to be Moorish American Muslims of any other faction, group, or whatever, we're going to prove that they were either lying to you, hiding it from you, or they didn't know. Let me yield the floor to Kenzie Bay. Islam, Kenzie Bay.
So, my question is kind of associated with what we talked about with the term Black and how and people's identification, etc. But I wanted to know what. Okay, so this is the angel's advocate, basically. So individuals that call themselves Black, that they got car insurance, they can afford that. They got cars, they got a home, they got life insurance for their children, grandchildren. They got 401k, they got 401(k) and all. They got all that. They got a business, they got a nonprofit, they got a whole huge net worth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How is nationality benefiting that person? And I will just sidebar and say, I assume that it's predicated off an individualistic perspective rather than nationhood. But that's my question, because that's like an angel's advocate, question.
All right. Let me ask you a question. What good is it? What profit a man that gains the world but loses his soul? What value do we have? Listen, that's a bunch of rich dummies. That's a bunch of rich fools. That's some people with possessions that they'll never, listen, there's a people with possessions that they'll never be able to use, that they possess in this hour. And I'm not being smart, but the point of the matter is, nationality only benefit those who understand the importance of it. And all we can teach is the importance of it. The importance of nationality give you a direct line and connection to your creator. Just like when you open the book of Matthew and you see that Jesus, from the first one, Jesus is the son of this person, the son of that person. It goes all the way back to Adam. So nationality is a cord that connects every living being to every other living being back to the creator, to identify your power as the creator and the creator working through you. Because you extend yourself, you're descended from the creator. So the importance of nationality, once again, is being a Moorish American connects you to the ancient Moabites. The ancient Moabites connect you to the ancient Canaanites. The ancient Canaanites connect you to the ancient land of Canaan. The ancient land of Canaan connects you to the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden connects you to the foundation of man. The foundation of man from the spiritual essence come from Allah into the flesh. Boom, there you go. It's a direct connection. And now we can compartmentalize it and stop, each cycle age and see our greatness. But in fact, it really connects us back to our creator definitively. So when we look at, it's like a child in school and they say, what do your mama and daddy do? My mommy is a bus driver. My daddy is a doctor. My daddy is a such and such. Normally, in most instances, people want to follow, little children want to follow in the footsteps of their parents, or their parents encourage them to even do better. Therefore, when we look at nationality, we follow in the footsteps of our forefathers and foremothers' greatness. We look at their faults and we do better. Without nationality, that is not possible. That is not possible, because at some point you stop, as the prophets say, of the 1600s, 17th century, and that's where your greatness lies, at the close of the Civil War. Itching and scratching, struggling and fighting to overcome oppression. Our whole existence in this country has been underscored of a group of people whose total history is overcoming oppression, as opposed to those who built the oldest civilization on earth known to man, and those who were a part of building the present civilization. So nationality would be important to those who want to know how great they truly are, how great they truly were, and how great they will be. That's the best way I can put it, my brother. I hope I answer your question.
Islam.
But always remember, I always refer to grandma. My grandmother was my baby. I'm gonna try to tell you. I'm telling you, as a young man, and my mother will tell you, I will leave out the house. Where are you going? I'm going to grandma's house. I will sit on the porch with grandma. I was sitting in the living room with grandma. That's right, on them plastic cushion couches, all that. That's right. And Jesus with the lamb on his neck, with the crook, European Jesus. That's right. He right up at chilling. And grandma would just tell me some stuff. You know what I'm saying? And grandma, my mother would tell you, grandma did not attend church all the time, but grandma knew so many valuable scriptures from the Bible. And when she went to church, she went fashionably late. My mother always say she had to make an entrance. She went fashionably late every time. But whenever I talked to my grandmother, she would say things just like I said today. You know, we talk about people have this 401k, 501k, have this and have that. You know what I mean? But what is it? What does it profit? A man gains the whole world but loses his soul. Grandma say something that simple. And now that we, in the largeness of our mind, we look at it and we like, whoa, that does mean something different. That does mean something different now that we have awakened just a little bit more. You follow me? So let me get our sister Robin. I know she's been busy. Are you there? Let me see if I can get her in real quick before we close out.
Islam.
Were you listening? Because I know you was busy today, but do you understand that the European calls himself white because there's energy that comes with that? And when he calls himself that, we reinforce that, and it keeps him in a position of power because of the energy field?
Indeed, yes. Islam.
So I want to make sure, because we was talking about that at home. So I want to make sure that we all understand that. We reinforce it. It's like this. I think Kenzie Bay, are you still there, brother?
Islam, I'm here.
Hey, Kenzie Bay, what did you say earlier about repeating or reciting or something you had mentioned? remembering the Quran or something you have mentioned.
Oh, yeah. What is the purpose of going through the saying the lessons or saying the Quran questions or regurgitating what the Prophet Noble Ali said in the Holy Quran of More Science of America verbatim? What's the purpose of it being verbatim?
I love that you said that. The purpose of it being verbatim is just important as a child learning the ABCs. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. You can't go A, B, C, F, Y, N, M. You're going to miss the point. Now, it's good to teach freely as I do. As I say all the time, I might chop this up. And I might say it 3 different ways. I know y'all hear me do it sometimes. I might say it 3 different ways. I might say it the way that it's written. I say it the way that it can be interpreted. And I say it that the way that anybody can understand it. But in fact, saying it just like it is a vibration that comes with it. And it's categorically put in place the way it is so you can grasp the spirit behind that which it is. There's a spirit behind how Prophet Noble Drew Ali prepared his work. So we want to capture the spirit of it by saying it verbatim, exactly like it is written. But then we want to expound upon it so those who may not catch it exactly how it's written, the common person can understand it. But there's a spirit up with it. You follow what I'm saying? Everybody get that? That's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Man, we be so excited when that child learned them alphabets. Oh, he's so excited. Oh, Aleem is is halfway or somewhere through understanding the states. And he understanding them in alphabetical order. Because there's a spirit in recitation. Remember, in the Holy Quran of Mecca, the angel says to Muhammad, what? Read what? Or recite what? There's a spirit in the recitation of something that have divine elements in it or divine components in it or in learning itself. There's a spirit behind it. And we want to capture that. Sister Robin, was your hand up? I'm done now. Kenzie Bang.
It's on my hands up. I first saw rise giving praise to Allah and honors to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And I'll come back on all the honors that were given. And I didn't get a chance to thank you, Grand Sheikh Islam. Thank you for expounding upon this lesson today. Islam,
praise Allah. So family, just always remember that there's a spirit in all that we do and all that we say. Remember again, one of the most valuable things I think I said today amongst many is that the 5 senses, sorry, but my hand's a little dirty. I don't know what I just touched, but the 5 senses, tasting, smelling, hearing, touching, and what else? Come on. Sight. All of these senses are predicated on one, and that's touch. So every time somebody says something, feel the vibration. Feel it. Your eardrum must feel it. Feel it. Know what they're doing when they're talking. When everybody move, feel it. It got to touch your eyes. Feel it with your eyes. When somebody speaks something, feel it, feel it. When you speak something, it rolls off your tongue. Feel it. Make sure, this is why the tongue is so powerful. Feel it. You feel me? When you smell something, you can smell energy. I can smell my grandmother. She's around here. I can smell the people that gone before. Anybody ever said that before? Those are the molecules. Your smell sense can feel it. So all of these senses are predicated on one. Family, you have to feel your way through the world with your eyes closed. And you would know where you're at along the way as it relates to exercising your five senses into the one. Islam, that's a powerful degree. What they gonna say to me, Brother Mazuka, there, man, add that degree. Let me yield the floor to our assistant Grand Sheik, and then he can yield the floor to S. McCallum. I always like to yield the floor to our assistant, Mazouk Razine L, with any final words, and then I'm out of here. Islam, Grand Sheik.
Islam. I first of all, I want to rise and give praise to Allah, the great God of the universe. I give honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and I want to give honors to everything that's been honored before me. And especially, I want to honor everybody that came in and got some of this knowledge. And those who, if you can still hear me, those who came in on the live feed and got some of the knowledge there. I really like what you taught us about Black today. Some of that I hadn't really put together, and some of it I have with the black and white. But when you started talking about the checkered floor, the lights in the ceiling of a car, whatever, that kind of enlightens me, because I've seen the checkered floor, a lot of older people had those in the basement.
That's right.
And the tile floors. And some, I've seen some cars being built, and that's what they put in the ceiling. So that gives me a tip, if I rent a limousine, hey, turn the things off, But anyway, I also want to give honors to you and Sheikah's Robin today, because I heard some lessons that not only the children were getting, and from her and you as well, because you were there. And, the lessons given here. So, man, this was a good day, for me, because I learned something in both classes. And the way you are teaching us and the way Sheikah's Robin is teaching our children, we have to grow. There's no way that we can't grow, and as a unit, as a temple, and all that, we're setting an example. We're setting an example of the science, because that's what we're learning about. This is the science we have to teach. And so I'm glad to be a part of this. And I want to end it there, because I don't want to keep rambling, but I have to give honors to you and Sheikah's Robin. Islam, I yield the floor. Peace and love.
Islam. So I yield the floor to our Grand Sheik of the Virtual Moorish Science Temple of America. And I want to thank everybody for joining me on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you're welcome to join us at joinnobletemples@gmail.com. And I encourage you to bring all your questions. I want questions, because there is no need for information in this information age to be hidden, covered, and not revealed to a group of people who have been oppressed and continue to be oppressed by the lack of knowledge. So with that being said, I yield the floor to our Grand Sheik, S. McCallum Bey, and that's my time. Islam, peace, and love. Don't forget to share this on your Facebook page or whatever social media. Islam.
Islam, gratitude.